All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Please welcome to the stage the Craft Academy.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Poston.
And I'm Haley Turner.
And we are Bluegrass Aquaponics. By 2050, the world population is projected to reach upward of 9 billion. To meet the needs of this growing population, the agriculture industry will have to embrace more sustainable and more productive methods, while also overcoming many challenges. For example, by 2025, 2/3 of the world population are expected to face water scarcity, while also overcoming decreasing soil fertility as well as land. For this reason, Bluegrass Aquaponics hopes to develop an aquaponic facility greenhouse in Jackson, Kentucky on a previously mined site. Our hope is that by opening our site, we can not only regenerate Jackson's local economy after the collapse of the coal industry with over 33,000 loss of mining jobs in eastern Kentucky, but by also operating on Jackson's close proximity to several roadways. We hope to gain a $325,000 commercial loan and expect an average return of investment of 16.5% in the first 5 years of operations.
Okay, so what is Bluegrass Aquaponics? Bluegrass Aquaponics will be a greenhouse facility that utilizes aquaponics technology to simultaneously produce fresh tilapia and organic lettuce. As for the site that we chose this site located in Jackson, Kentucky. It was once called S16 Gobbler's Knob, owned by Revelation Energy LLC, and the owner of that was Jeffrey Hoops. And we plan to purchase 7 acres of this land right here. And we chose this site mainly because of the great road access. For our initial construction, we're going to need a lot of large gravel roads for the huge trucks to come in, so this site is perfect. As for the environmental profile of our site, so as you can see here, our site is inhabited by a lot of common game animals, which pose no real threat to our business. And the common trees in the site are elm and sycamore, and we are going to have to deforest the land that we're purchasing, and we have factored this into the financial costs. As for the site history, this site was active November 2018 to February 2020. It employed 10 people. And surface mining of bituminous coal commenced at the site. Bituminous coal is usually used for energy purposes, and unfortunately, due to COVID-19 and university regulations, we could not visit the site like we had once planned to, but these pictures here depict what a usual surface mine looks like. And as for the community contributions of this site to Jackson, Kentucky, it donated about $12,000 to the community, and unfortunately, due to the bankruptcy status of the site, they did neglect their environmental cleanup. And this right here is just a quick little picture of the 7 acres and our business model, but we'll get more into that when we do the 3D model presentation.
So operating on a previously mined site, Bluegrass Aquaponics does recognize its social responsibility. So, as you can see, Jackson, Kentucky is well behind the national average in terms of income as well as employment rates, and we hope by operating within Jackson that we can not only revitalize a previously unusable site, but we can also regenerate the local economy of Jackson residents through not only tax stimulation as well as offering a few jobs that we hope to expand as we grow. And we hope to accomplish these goals under the following mission. So Bluegrass Aquaponics hopes to produce organic fish as well as crops through aquaponics technology while conserving resources and maximizing productivity and sustainability. So what is aquaponics and how does it work? Aquaponics essentially combines the greats of both aquaculture and hydroponics by adding plants to the filtration stage. So essentially, whenever fish eat food, they convert this food into ammonia, which in large amounts can be detrimental in a fish tank. For this reason, aquaponics tanks naturally develop nitrifying bacteria. This bacteria converts ammonia into nitrates and nitrites. Again, in large amounts, these nitrous compounds can be harmful. For this reason, aquaponics technology either pumps the water or the water naturally flows to the plants. Plants naturally require nitrates and nitrites in order to grow. So when this happens, the nitrates and nitrites will be pumped to the plants, and at this point, the plants will uptake primarily nitrates and small quantities of both nitrite and ammonia, and they'll grow and filter the water for the fish, in turn creating a great cycle that produces 2 products instead of 1. And here is another quick overview of our site, and we'll go into that more in depth later. In addition, we accounted for some of our operational processes. As you can see here, this is how we would stock our tanks.
Okay, on to the sources of revenue for bluegrass aquaponics. So we chose to produce romaine lettuce. We chose this plant simply because it has a very aggressive growth rate at just 30 days. In comparison, other lettuces usually take 6 to 8 weeks to grow. Also, romaine lettuce is very popular in the U.S. As you can see here, it accounts for 30% of the total lettuce consumption. And also the production costs for romaine lettuce are very low. We also chose to produce Nile tilapia in specific because it's very tolerant and very great for aquaponics technology. These fish are very great to grow in overcrowded and poor water, so it really fits our business. Also, Nile tilapia has a very aggressive growth rate at just 7 to 9 months. In comparison, other fish usually take 1 to 2 years. Nile tilapia has a very high market value at $2 to $6 per pound, as well as Nile tilapia are omnivores, which means that there's very flexible feed options, which in turn makes our production costs lower. Bluegrass Aquaponics also plans to offer educational tours. We plan to attract local schools, businesses, and people that are interested in the community. We hope to increase the STEM interest in Jackson, Kentucky and the entire region, as well as increase exposure of our business.
So when deciding what we wanted to sell, Bluegrass Aquaponics first looked at overall industry trends. And one of the first ones we found was that consumers are more likely to buy eco-friendly products. In a Nielsen survey, over 74% of consumers are concerned with where they are getting their food and whether it's been raised in an environmentally friendly fashion. In addition, consumers are buying healthier foods, again, part of this relating to the farm-to-table movement, which in Kentucky is also related to Kentucky Proud. So with the farm-to-table movement, consumers are interested in where their food is coming from and whether it is grown environmentally friendly and whether it's healthy, and part of that relates to pesticide usage. And then in addition, there has been a huge increase in organic sales, again, relating to each of these. And to address the Kentucky Proud movement, essentially that's been created by the Kentucky Department of Agriculture in order to encourage consumers to buy foods that are locally grown within Kentucky to help stimulate, again, our Kentucky economy. Looking at some overall lettuce industry trends, the main trend right now is that consumers are buying more leafy lettuce opposed to head lettuce. So if you look at this chart right here, you'll see that consumers, the blue line, it represents head lettuce, while the black line represents romaine lettuce, which is what we plan to market. In addition, there's been an overall higher leafy lettuce consumption, and we're expected to have a 25.7% global growth in lettuce demand between now and 2027. And in general, consumers would rather buy perishable foods from local food sources as they can maintain quality as well as freshness, whether they're closer. And for Bluegrass Aquaponics, this would be to our advantage because most of 97% of United States lettuce is produced in both California and Arizona. So for our market, we would be able to ensure, again, that it would be quality and fresh. As far as tilapia goes, the main trend driving tilapia essentially is that there's a 3.7% growth expected between now and 2024, and tilapia is the 6th most consumed United States seafood.
Okay, so on to the products, pricing, places, and promotion of Bluegrass Aquaponics. So first off, starting with products and pricing, our romaine lettuce will be priced at $2.90 per head. Our Nile tilapia will be priced at $3 per pound. And our educational tours will be priced at $10 per person. These prices are determined by consultations with a similar business, West Kentucky Aquaponics, which also offers tours, Nile tilapia, and romaine lettuce. As for the promotions of our business, we plan to create a professional website to showcase the ins and outs of our business. We also plan to create a social media standing. And Rachel and I, as owners, will take part in networking to create connections that will help our business in the future. We also plan to make our initial introduction into the agricultural industry by using introductory letters and brochures to stakeholders. and we plan to place magazine and website advertisements, as well as utilize direct marketing techniques as well as word-of-mouth marketing techniques to maximize sales. As for the Bluegrass Aquaponics organizational structure, Bluegrass Aquaponics will be a limited liability company. As you can see here, we plan to hire 1 part-time marketing advisor, 1 full-time head grower, 2 part-time labor employees, and multiple intern positions. We plan to outsource our shipping and accounting to cut down on costs, and we also plan to bridge any gaps in human resources by creating a board of advisors.
Okay, so what is Bluegrass Aquaponics competition? So our main competition in terms of lettuce wholesale, as we plan to market primarily to wholesale services like Sysco and McLean Food Service, would be Fresh Point Nashville and Cross Valley Farms. And then for tilapia, it would be Western Kentucky Aquaponics, Regal Springs Tilapia, Mazeda Company, and North Atlantic Fish Company. So what is our competitive advantage over these suppliers? First, we plan to use a differentiation strategy that would be justified through organic certification. So the FDA and USDA have both approved aquaponically grown products to be certified organic. In addition, we hope to produce more nutritious products, as everything that is put into an aquaponic system is completely utilized, which allows full growth. In addition, we hope to offer competitive organic wholesale pricing. In addition, we have the aquaponics benefits associated with 90% less water usage compared to traditional agriculture. We want to produce little to zero waste, again, because it's all uptake. And then we also will be producing multiple products that are grown in a controlled environment that, again, appeal to the consumer who wants to know exactly where their food is coming from. In addition, we hope to have strategic partnerships with the local government as well as through schools like Morehead State University, as we hope to offer educational opportunities for interns or so we can engage in research further along. In addition, we plan to partner with our distributors that we hope to sell to. Another part of our differentiation strategy, we looked at Kentucky and Tennessee demand through a Penn State research project. They found that 76% of Nashville restaurants utilize wholesalers to supply their lettuce demand. And when looking at that research strategy, we saw that wholesalers' main considerations when buying from suppliers was whether their food was fresh, how it appeared, and whether it was all uniform. And being in an aquaponics facility located in eastern Kentucky, we could better serve this region freshly with food compared to California and Arizona, while also producing uniform products. Something else to consider that wholesalers said was that they were more concerned with these 3 qualities as compared to the quantity, which as a small business is something that we could utilize to our advantage.
Okay, so how would Bluegrass Aquaponics obtain its funding? We seek to gain a $325,000 commercial loan. Just under $300,000 of this will be used for the initial startup cost of the business, and about $30,000 will be allotted for any mistakes or anything we run into. And we came up with this amount by consulting with West Kentucky Aquaponics, who has a similar acreage as us, and they said that $30,000 was definitely enough money to cover any costs on hand. As for our revenue projections, you can see here, this is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. And this is just a little breakdown of our average revenues for the first 5 years. As you can see here, lettuce is our main source of revenue. And on to the break-even point for our business. So the fixed cost for our business would be $242,000. And we expect to break even when we hit about $80,000 in revenue. As for our return of investment, we expect an average return of investment within the first 5 years of 16.5%.
And to help supplement some of the operating costs of Bluegrass Aquaponics, we do plan to apply for multiple grants. The first 4 are USDA grants, and then the last 2 are related to small business administration as well as agritourism. We do note that utilities are a huge operating cost for aquaponics facilities, so this one would be, the 4th one would be good for that.
Okay, on to the SWOT analysis of our business, starting with the internal analysis with strengths. One strength is that we produce quality organic products, we have a fast production rate, and we also are very sustainable and require very little input. As for the weaknesses, we do have second mover disadvantages, which means that existing competitors have already secured loyal buyers. We do have a potential for spoiled produce with our transport. However, we plan to remedy this by outsourcing a shipping facility. And we also have very interdependent products, which means that if one product fails, then all of them can be negatively impacted. And onto the external analysis for the opportunities, consumers are more likely to buy from an eco-friendly business such as ourselves. And I'm going to wrap this up really quick. And we have various target markets, so we can sell to markets and, okay. You're fine. This is quick, and we'd like to thank all the following and open up the floor for any questions.
Tell us a little bit about your quality control process.
Okay, so within our organizational chart, we outlined who our workers would be, and a part of that, in a few of our grants that we plan to apply for, that we determined we were highly eligible for, part of those comes with educational opportunities in order to operate your business. And so within those, we hope to not only learn essentially how to control our products, but also to ensure that everyone knows how to care for them. And that's part of within our hiring process. Something we would look for is people that have had any experience, whether it's within the agricultural industry or the business sector, depending on what job they would be applying for. As far as our shipping company goes, we have looked into it, and we found that they not only are experienced with shipping products that need to be shipped fresh, but also within wholesale organizations, we hope to strategically partner with them, and we can learn from them exactly how to maintain quality and freshness for our products.
You stated that the fish would produce the nutrients in the water for the lettuce, and the lettuce would take out what's necessary for the fish to eat. Is that correct? Or are you going to have to supplement it with anything?
Okay, so that is something we looked into. Occasionally with aquaponics, you do have to supplement certain things. Even within operating an aquaponics system, there's certain things you have to look at, like the oxygen content within the water. So that is something we accounted for in our financial projections. Whenever we spoke with Western Kentucky Aquaponics, they did give us an estimate for how much they spend adding. However, within the feed that you're feeding the fish, it's hopeful that most of the compounds would already be in there.
Okay. Then you said if one item of the situation fails, you would still have the other one, but if one fails, won't it affect the other one?
Essentially, yes. Within an aquaponics system, it functions as its own mini ecosystem in a way. We typically see that more with fish. The water quality sometimes goes astray if the plants aren't filtering properly. So it's more concerning the fish and how well they would grow compared to the lettuce.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, our main source of revenue is lettuce, and we have allotted some cash on hand just in case we run into any of those issues, because we do regard that as a potential issue.
And we also have insurance estimates already put in our financial projections that would help cover not only our operating costs within the facility, having people on site, but also should something like that happen.
I know you mentioned that you weren't able to visit the site, but were you able to find out anything about the reclamation costs or cleanup costs associated with the site?
Okay, so our site is heavily forested, so we did factor in all the deforestation costs for that. We couldn't visit the site. We really wanted to, but we were in the red zone, and the university guidelines just wouldn't allow us to visit. And we looked at multiple factors of the site, as you can see in our site profile and business plan. We did look into using the local water source, which is another reason why we looked at that site. And unfortunately, it just wasn't viable. After we looked more into it, it just wasn't viable for our business because we need good water quality. The only thing that we really need to do is deforestation, because the large gravel roads for our business will be very good for the initial construction and stuff, so we don't really need to pave any roads or anything like that.
Let me clarify something that Haley said. Whenever we looked at the local water source, we looked specifically at the river that's closely located to our site, and we determined that wasn't a viable option for water. However, there are water lines running very closely to our business, and when we looked at the operating, like the measurements for water quality put out by the utilities in Jackson, we saw that that would be viable for our business. But part of our reclamation, we also plan to apply for grants that would help cover part of those costs.
The name Bluegrass Aquaponics may be irritating for people from Jackson who do not view themselves as residents of the Bluegrass. Why did you choose that title for this business? I'm perplexed.
I can elaborate on that. So Bluegrass, we're local and we're Kentucky proud, so we want to, establish the Eastern Kentucky roots. So we thought that Bluegrass Aquaponics would be a good name to showcase that in a positive light.
We also had previously looked at Appalachian aquaponics. However, there was a facility that had operated at one point under that name, and so to ensure that we weren't infringing on anyone else's names, this is the name we had gone with. However, we are open to changing it should the community desire that.
So tell us a little more about your expansion plans. Would you select another type of fish species to go, or another type of lettuce? What does that look like?
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate more on that, but we unfortunately ran out of time. So we are a super scalable business, which means that we can grow virtually any aquatic species or plant. And we have been looking at transitioning to hemp just because hemp's very in demand right now. And with new laws and regulations, we think that transitioning to hemp in the future would be a great option for our business.
Are some fish farms also moving into recreational marijuana? And that may be a possibility as our surrounding states legalize it. Have you considered that?
We have considered that. That's actually a great idea. I know Kentucky's very slow to do that, but in the future, if that happens, we could also transition to that.
As you all were conducting your research, what did you learn about Jackson, Kentucky, in terms of just the economic profile?
I would say I personally hadn't ever visited Jackson before, so I think learning just economically, like how far behind, not only that location was, I guess, economically, as well as Eastern Kentucky as a whole, but also just like educationally, we saw that there wasn't really a lot of STEM opportunities within Jackson, and so we hoped that, one, by opening Bluegrass Aquaponics, that we could increase STEM interest as well as just expose Eastern Kentucky residents and Jackson itself to those.
Yeah, and I'm actually from Eastern Kentucky. I'm about 45 minutes from Jackson, which is another reason why we looked at that site. And I'm very passionate about increasing the educational opportunities there as well as the economic opportunities. So,
Do you all think that you'll run into, or I guess, how will you overcome knowing that it is behind economically marketing a fish that does have such a high market value to that population?
okay, so actually we are not marketing to people in the Jackson community. We're marketing to wholesalers. That's what we plan to sell to. We chose wholesalers. We originally looked at Jackson, Kentucky, but we determined it just wasn't viable due to the economy. But yeah, we're not really concerned with that as of now, since we don't plan on marketing to them.
Right. That's, yeah, I picked up on that finally. But with that in mind, if the goal is to bring economic vitality or opportunity to the region, will you do that primarily then through tax stimulation, or I guess what's your avenue there for this?
We primarily plan to do it through tax stimulation, as well as donations and stuff like that. And we plan in our growth plan to expand to create more jobs. Since we're a pretty small business in the beginning, we won't offer as many jobs to really stimulate the economy. So we're mainly targeting the economy through tax stimulus.
Another long-term goal is part of the STEM interest in offering educational tours is that by hopefully causing STEM interest within people, that they'll either leave and come back to Jackson and cause new things, But also we had an agritourism grant that we're looking at, and that's something that there's a large aquaponics facility that operates out of California, and actually they gain a lot of attraction because they offer tours. And so that's something that, should we bring a large amount of people in, that would be a great way to help grow the economy as well.
And my final question, can you speak on why, or maybe you just include it, why you didn't include App Harvest as a potential partner or?
Yes, we can. So App Harvest actually is producing tomatoes, so they're not even producing the same products as us, though they are very in the know right now. They're growing, very in the news. We did look at App Harvest for a lot of our, labor, like how much people we need to hire and stuff. So they're a great source of information, and potentially a strategic partnership with them for research and development would be nice. But since they're not marketing the same products as us, we didn't mention them as a competitor.
They also utilize hydroponics technology, which of course is very closely related to aquaponics. That is something, though, that should they decide they want to venture into aquaponics, that we would be interested in partnering with them.
Would there be a potential partnership with universities that are concerned about?
Yeah, I think
sort of thing?
Rachel mentioned this in the presentation, but we plan to partner with Morehead State, since we know you're from the University of Kentucky. They already have a aquaponics facility, and they're already doing the research, but Morehead State has a great agricultural program, so we would like to partner with them just because they're located nearby, and they have a great source of students that can conduct research as well as provide interns.
And within Jackson, something we could look at is working within the local school system, Breathitt County, to even create like miniature aquaponic systems that students within the schools could use. I've personally seen this used in Central Kentucky from Kentucky State University, so that's also something we would look into.
Okay, so we chose to use SketchUp to create our software. We chose the software SketchUp to create our 3D model. And as you can see here, this is built to scale. So the 6,000 square feet greenhouse, the 1,000 square feet office building, as well as the 7 acres of grass surrounding the site. And we'll take a closer look. This is the side profile of the greenhouse. And this is a little look on the inside of the greenhouse. As you can see here, these 3 tanks here are the fish nursery systems, and these 6 tanks back here are the ones that we will filter the older tilapia into. And here is our grow beds with our lettuce. And that's just a closer look. As you can see, there's tilapia and lettuce plants. There's more tilapia in their little tanks. And this is our outside of our office building, and this is the inside.
Where are your processing facilities? Because, the fish, you got to clean up, you got to dispose of the waste, and, the lettuce has to be packaged. Is that in the office, or do you have another location for that?
That location is one that we would house within the greenhouse. When we spoke with Western Kentucky Aquaponics, they did have a small setup by that, like within their greenhouse. For example, there's a fish purge system, which is something you would utilize basically to store fish, and you essentially wouldn't feed them so that they could eject all of their digestive, processes before you would slaughter them. And something we had looked at in particular was actually sending them wholesale, like completely whole head to the wholesale companies, so that would help eliminate some of those costs, aside from that. As far as lettuce packaging goes, that would operate within the greenhouse. The greenhouse we're purchasing from is purchased by Nelson and Paid Aquaponics, which produces aquaponics technology. Within that, they do have space allotted for those sorts of things.
A tough-minded investor might say, I think this could be located anywhere. I don't see a reason to locate in Jackson. How would you respond to that critic?
I would respond to that is, yeah, it can be relocated anywhere, which is why we want to make use of this abandoned site that's just going to waste currently. So we want to utilize this unused land and make something of it. So that's why we chose this very versatile business.
And part of our branding is specifically like being eco-friendly and sustainable, and we think that by revitalizing a coal site, that also plays very well into our branding.
So since you utilize a very small portion of the 7-acre site, I'm asking the same question to everybody. So how can you add value to the community by other amenities? You're working with fish, and the first thing that popped in my mind was like a community fishing pond or something like that. But what are some of your thoughts for the utilization of the rest of that site?
Okay, the community fishing pond is a great idea. Primarily, we just wanted to offer the tours. However, something we had looked into was potentially if we had smaller systems with other sorts of fish, we looked at possibly supplying like local recreational areas like lakes. So that's something we could look into some more, as well as like any additional food that we may have. That's something that we could donate elsewhere into the surrounding area.
And also, if we want to expand our production, there's always room for another greenhouse or 3 on the site. So that's why we chose to purchase such a large acreage.
I don't want to cut on your research or anything, but since the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of the grocery shopping because my wife has an autoimmune deficiency, but that's neither here nor there. But it seems like your sale price of your lettuce may be a little bit high, from what I'm seeing from, my standpoint since I've been buying all the groceries.
Yeah, so
How will that affect if your price, if it was 20% lower or 40% lower?
We are still making quite a lot of revenue just from this justified price, which we determined through consultations with West Kentucky Aquaponics, similar businesses that do get their revenue with those prices. And we also justify this price because we're producing organic, eco-friendly products, and we like to, if the price had to drop or we had to lower the price, there is room for that. That's why we set our price higher, because we never want to set our price too low. There is room for growth in that, and with our financial projections, there's definitely room for a 20% price decrease.
To add on to that, whenever we came up with our price, again, the company that we're purchasing the aquaponics facility from, Nelson and Paid, they have sold their systems to other aquaponics facilities throughout the world, and that was one of their average ranges for pricing was between $2 to $3 per head of lettuce, wholesale, so that's where we obtained part of our pricing from as well. There's something else I wanted to say. I don't remember what it was. I might come back to that.
Yeah, but there's one thing about companies that are selling you products. They always like to project higher numbers. I'm used to buying heavy equipment. Production numbers from CAT or Komatsu, if you use their projections, you go bankrupt in no time.
Yeah, that's why we used our primary research through West Kentucky Aquaponics and similar places such as them to make sure that our pricing was justified.
And according to our financial projections, we also did account for any turnover rates within lettuce and the fish. So we counted 20% for that, as well as the initial sales of how much we expect to sell. We did take 20% of that, which only accounts for a small portion of our revenue. So there is room for growth or decreasing our price.
Okay, one of the things I'm trying to make the point, I guess, get right down to it, You know, go to the grocery stores and see what it's actually selling for, or go to a restaurant and see what it's actually costing, or what they're purchasing it for, because there's got to be room for the wholesalers. The other point, did you allow for shrinkage or waste?
That is something we looked at, and we also considered, like, should our products spoil? Again, I mean, that's hopefully covered through our insurance costs. That's something we looked into. But something else we could do within the environmental cleanup is hopefully refertilize the soil through almost composting in a way on our lands. In addition to the turnover rate, that was part of what was factored in there, should it spoil.
I'm sorry if I missed this. I know that you two mentioned that there is a water source that's close to the site, but you said it wasn't viable. Did you figure out, like, is it just not close enough, or?
The water quality is not good enough for the aquaponics technology for the fish. It's just not where we need it to be. So we, instead of all the additives that we would need to make it good enough, we just took the lower operational cost and just brought water in instead of utilizing that source.
I'm just wondering if in the long term, if it would be more beneficial for you to look at that, if it is already a water source.
Yeah. The thing with aquaponics is that it doesn't use a lot of water. It uses 90% less water than other agricultural techniques. So a lot of our inputs are very minimal. So we really, once we get the initial water in there, we don't have a lot of replacing to do.
I was wondering if there are other value-added products that you could, add to this venture. I don't know if you've visited the plantery in Lexington, but I have invested in that, or donated, but they do have a aquaponics facility, but there's a fish restaurant that is attached, and they don't exclusively serve tilapia. You get catfish and other things that are not raised there. And then there's a brewery, and the leftover from some of the brewery products are used to feed the fish. So and then there's a gift shop and other things. So have you thought about, are there other ways to add value? And maybe the site is so isolated you couldn't do that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So simply because Jackson, Kentucky has a very small population in regards to Lexington, we didn't really see a lot of income coming from those sources. It would almost be a waste of money to construct them and go through the process of hiring people to run them. And it is fairly isolated. That's why we chose to do the kind of business that we're doing, because we don't really need a lot of attractions or anything. So
That's something that long-term, though, we could look into once our business gains enough exposure. Something else that's kind of related nearby, there's a church relatively close by, so perhaps a restaurant could be a great option for those attendees.
I've asked this of other teams, but what self-doubts do you have as entrepreneurs about this venture?
I would say potentially the operating cost. Within aquaponics facilities, one of the key operational costs is just funding workers, which is why we worked so closely with Western Kentucky Aquaponics, considering they're around the same size as we all would be, as to how much their operational costs include. However, with grant funding and stuff and funding just the overall startup cost, that would be a great way to start a business off really well.
yeah, and I actually am wanting to become an entrepreneur in the future, so I'm very invested in this idea and would love to make it happen.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
All right, so we're here with the Craft Academy with the Bluegrass Aquaponics project. So tell us a little bit more about the project. How'd you come up with the idea and what inspired you?
Well, I'll speak on this. I'm actually originally from Scott County, and within Scott County, we're very closely located to Kentucky State University, and they operate aquaponics facilities there. And as part of an outreach program, they gave us a miniature aquaponics system to operate within our school system. And so my sophomore year, that's actually where I was first exposed to it. And then whenever we came to craft and we're looking for ideas with this project, it was one that I was like, hey, aquaponics is a new and upcoming thing that's really innovative and has a lot of great benefits. So that's where that idea came from.
You can add if you want.
Okay, so this is my second year competing at the ECLRP competition, and last year we did Appalachian hemp, so we used a greenhouse facility to produce hemp, and I have a lot of interest in the business background of this project, and I just have a lot of knowledge on the agricultural businesses.
So from start to finish, this project took you how long?
Many hours. We were actually on winter break, and we dedicated at least 30 hours a week, probably more than that. We actually meet quite a lot. We've met every day for the past 2 weeks just working on presenting. So.
And to start, I think we started interviewing for team members in September at the very end of it. So we've been meeting relatively frequently since then. So it's been very extended, but very worthwhile. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see here. So tell us a little bit about your virtual model. I saw that you use SketchUp for your virtual model. Is that something you had experience with before, or did you teach yourself how to use that? What was the process like in your experience there?
Okay, so I was actually one of the main producers of the SketchUp model, and we originally purchased the software as advised by Peyton Allen, and we did not expect it to be
Peyton May,
I'm sorry, and we did not expect the software to be so difficult. So we spent quite a lot of hours, figuring out how to do that, watching videos, trying to make our model look as good as possible. It was definitely a difficult process, but I definitely would recommend SketchUp. It's very nice to utilize the 3D warehouse to make any business look amazing.
And to clarify, we know another Peyton, but it was Peyton May that advised us on that. And something that kind of went with that was when we first started our model, Haley texted me and she goes, I don't know how to use SketchUp. And I was like, me neither. And so we emailed Peyton, and he was able to help walk us through some of the layers and various tools on SketchUp. But we think our model ended up looking really nice.
Yeah, it was definitely a great visual of the presentation, so well done on that.
Thank you.
So this project, it took you several months to put together. You pitched today. We're still waiting to see who's going to win. But if you don't win or you do win, what's next for the project?
Okay, so I'm really interested in becoming an entrepreneur. I'm very passionate about this project, so hopefully we receive some funding and make this idea a real thing in the future. Win or lose, we're grateful for the opportunity and the learning experience that it provided.
And I want to go on to pursue veterinary medicine, so I'm very interested just within the agricultural industry in general. Agricultural advocacy is something I'm very fond of and something I want to pursue more. So I think that would be a great way for us to also help obtain funding, but also spread word about why aquaponics is necessary and why it's needed.
So tell us a little bit more about your experience with the ECLRP. I'm sure this is your first time presenting in this competition, but what was your experience like? What was the experience like with your coach? And how do you put the project along the way? Just talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so this is my second year competing with this competition. I still have the same advisors from last year. They're Dr. Hassan and Dr. Mohammed from the Business Administration Department in Morehead State. They're very knowledgeable and very helpful. They are doing this on their own free will, and they're just volunteering to help us out and really give us the tools that we need to succeed. So we're very grateful for them and for the opportunity to present here and learn more about reclaiming coal sites in eastern Kentucky and just in Kentucky in general. and we're very passionate about this, so we would like to thank all of the Cedar company for allowing us to do this.
And personally, this is my first year being involved with this project, and it's been amazing just to learn so much about not only the coal industry, but Eastern Kentucky as well. And I think it's a great program to try to revitalize these lands and just help generate our economy, because we love Kentucky and we'd love to make it better.
Well, great job, you two. Really good presentation. Is there any other last comments that you would like to say about your project? It's okay if you don't.
None that come to mind at the moment, yeah.
So we'll appreciate you being here. Good luck. We'll see who wins in just a few moments.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, so we're here with the coaches of the Craft Academy, Dr. Hassad and Dr. Muhammad. So thank you all for being here. Your team did a great presentation. So tell us a little bit about how you feel after that presentation. I know we don't know who's going to win yet, but how are you guys feeling at the moment?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, they have done a great job. They have done exactly what they needed to do. They really controlled the presentation, and then they showed and exercised confidence during the presentation, and they handled really well the Q&A after the presentation. I think I cannot ask these kids for any more, quite honestly. Probably the inputs they have received, if we will move further with that project, definitely we will consider these inputs to improve the project. But I think I cannot ask them for anything more.
I think also they understand the whole project from A to Z. The operation side, financial part, and community effect, and from all perspectives. So they studied the whole process for these 6 months. So, and this is the output for this. So I'm so proud of their presentation.
I can tell you guys have a lot of pride in helping these students.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about how important programs like ECLRP, Regional Challenge, and other pathways for entrepreneurship for students. Tell us a little bit about just sort of how important that is for our region.
I think this is crucial because if you look at the economy of our nation in general, the U.S. is unique from any other nation in the sense that we are innovative society, and this is how we create typically jobs in our economy, and this is more in need here in this region of Eastern Kentucky. We need to have more economic development and projects and challenges and competition like this one. This is what we exactly need, and this is what our kids needs really. And but we would love to see that to be developed further and to go beyond the competition to help these kids to apply whatever we have learned in these projects and competition in real life ventures. And I'm very confident that many of the ideas that we have seen this year, last year, it can be carried. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what we really need to invest in. Maybe further workshops after this competition for these kids. Maybe exploring how to help them to really implement and execute the plans that they have. I think that would be great for this. This is what we need. The classroom is important, but I think equally
experience is
exactly.
very critical.
Yeah.
Like for Haley, for instance, she changed her major. Right now she want to be a business major. So entrepreneur idea and all this through just two competition changed her mind, and she want to do this. So more of these program and workshop will affect the kids' interest and how they think for the future, specifically for this region with high unemployment rate. We need this thing.
This is what will create jobs, really. And because if you look at the numbers and statistics nationwide, jobs are created in this economy through small businesses. And this is what we need to focus on.
So tell us a little bit about, I know you guys have been working on this project for months now. So what's next for this project, whether the team wins or the team loses? What's next?
When we were just discussing with our administration that on the way here, and we are looking at other venues to maybe just further that project and look at opportunities to scale it and expand on it. But it all depends on, again, if we can find some encouragement. So we will, definitely.
And I had to see all these efforts and all this studying to come up with idea and see the financial for it and plan for how the business can grow and how create job and all that and can pay taxes for the area at the same time. So after this is just paper. I wish we can implement these ideas.
This is really what will create incentives for high school kids when they see the fruits of their work realized in real life situations, not just being, on a piece of paper. No, it's realized, and I'm confident that this can be done. These business plans can be polished. I am sure this is just the high schools kids. But I think we can work further with them to polish and improve their output. And I think, again, I hope that folks like the SOAR definitely can have a major role in helping us to achieve that.
We're certainly looking forward to continuing the work and creating these unique pathways. I think is so critical to our future. And sometimes I think there's a lot of disconnect. So connecting the dots is sometimes all we need to do because there's already resources available out there. So it's just making them aware of it, right? So tell us about your experience with ECLRP and John and his team. I know you've worked with them for the last couple of years. So
Great experience because it's so good. This is why we repeat it. We had it last year and the year before, and this is the third year for us. We like it. We enjoyed it. Everything straightforward, very organized.
Very organized. Yeah, I like that. Very organized. John, he is on the top of everything. I mean, when I email him, wow, I'm just literally, it's not email, it's a text message. He gets back to you and he is to the point, giving you the answers. He is so professional, so nice, and as Fatma mentioned right now, this is why we are back, and we would love to be back again, quite honestly. He is really, taking care of that business, this project and this challenge, and I'm very confident as we move forward, there will be more improvement to that project.
Well, thank you all for being here. Great job coaching the team. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.